are now technically live, and it's just the lead in to
Doo-doo
the
fart.
actual, just the actual lead in, so that everyone can file in. I do things like they do at the movies, where it's like 5 minutes of ads.
Only it's not your choice, it's Twitch, because Twitch ads are fucking atrocious.
Oh, they
Well,
are like
uh,
so I was actually going over this last night while I was talking with a friend. So in the last 30 days I've streamed about 77 hours. You want to guess how many ads were in how much time of that was ads?
I'm guessing a quarter of it.
Out of 77 hours, you think a quarter?
Why is it more?
at least
So
half.
I had mine set because I adjusted my ad settings long ago. 44 minutes out of 77 hours.
Yeesh.
So it it typically runs like 30 seconds of ads every hour on my streams. Just because I don't like the ads interrupting the user experience and the interactivity.
Unfortunately, I have to like have my settings pretty high because of the fact that it's like, and I feel absolutely terrible having ads on my stuff anyways, because it's like, oh, but it's how I get paid.
I'm really quickly gonna try restarting both Discord and VTube Studio and see if for whatever reason they decide to play nicely. Because I'm still having a lot of trouble hearing. Hang on. We'll start VTube Studio. Take a nap. Take a little nappy nap VTube Studio. And then I will take Discord. We will say goodnight.
We are just having a few technical difficulties. Do not worry, dears.
Don't you love it when you close Discord and Discord says, "No, you're still on here. You're still live."
Yeah.
Well, that's why you have to like it doesn't
You have to kill
actually close it. Yeah, you have to like go into Task Manager.
Kill the process.
It's like Discord. Like, how are you so bad at such
Steam does
simple
the same thing.
things?
You can close it, but doesn't actually close it.
Yeah, but it's like there's so many like little things where it's just like, Discord, you should know how to do this by now. You should
Reminder that
know.
Skype allowed you to transfer way larger files.
Well, it's like I was saying earlier, like I never have any troubles. Like if I want to play a game while listening to somebody else stream or like running multiple things at once, that's all requiring like significantly more use of my computer or my internet. But if I want to like run anything else while Discord is open, Discord has like a hissy fit and it's like, now you're not going to hear half of what's going on.
Alright, well.
Ooh, hang on. There you go, VTube Studio. Slowly restarting. And I'm connected again. I wonder... I wonder if I had just kept the stream open, but closed the window for VTube Studio, or for Discord rather, if it would ignore some things.
Alright, well. Arigato gozaimashita, mina goshushi-sama, and everyone in between. Thank you all so much for joining. I'm just going to put this in here while our guest gets himself ready. There we go. And there we go. Thank you so much for joining. I am your beloved stream mum, Felicity Hayami, and this is welcome to the Hayami estate. Today,
Hi.
Today I have the absolutely wonderful Dr. DemiVT joining me, and my co-host today is Grim Graham.
What's up, nerds?
What a morning it is! It is 8:01 Saturday morning here in oh, there goes my VTube studio. It loves to act up on me. But what do you expect? So why not give yourself a brief intro, Demi, just to let my audience know who you are.
Hi, I am Demi, Dr. D. You know, I go by many names. Some of my friends call me Thunder Cheeks. I do all sorts of stuff. I do streams from just talking and hanging out with people to, you know, playing a bunch of games. I kind of am a bit notorious for playing games naked, because it would only nerf my powers, my abilities in the games to put armor on and to cover up.
Two people I know who play video games naked.
A fellow nudist, thank you. Thank you.
I embrace the nudity. Listen, you gotta let it out.
But do you embrace the degeneracy?
Oh, all the time. But I'm never sus. Never been sus. I may be a degenerate, but I've never once been sus.
Nah, that's me. So, Demi, what made you decide to be a VTuber?
I started VTubing. Sorry. I started VTubing a little less than 2 years ago at this point. I I started it a little after I actually I was getting back into life, essentially. I started streaming as a new hobby, as a way of staying sober after getting out of rehab. So I enjoyed it so much, and I've really loved just finding new things to do and new activities to participate in.
Pardon me, but is rehab a sensitive topic?
Hmm?
Is rehab a
sensitive topic?
Oh, yeah, I have no problems talking about it.
Okay, well, we do need to
Listen,
learn
I
about
have-
this, and that sounds very interesting.
I have aired like all of my dirty laundry in rooms filled with strangers. That is just how I live.
That's
Well,
very...
why don't you tell us about your inspirational story? Let's start at where the problems began, if you don't mind.
I mean, I think like a lot of people, I used alcohol for a long time to not feel, like specifically as a way of like, okay, these are not great feelings. Let's drink till we don't feel them. And also, alcohol has this magnificent effect of hitting the fast forward button, but you don't know what's going on. So, it was sort of, you know, my own way of coping instead of actually coping with certain things that were going on.
yes.
And, you know, so I finally hit a point where I pretty much had nearly wrecked my car. I took out both tires on one side of my car and, you know, woke up the next day and I looked out, I saw what I had done to my car, and I was like, man, I could have hit somebody, I could have hurt myself. Like, I need to go and check in someplace. Like, I need to sort of take this out of my own hands and go
It's good to know that you were-
do some work.
It's good to know that you were lucid enough at the time, because obviously there's a lot of people who refuse to think there's anything wrong with them.
Yeah, it's hard to get started is really like the biggest thing. Like the hardest thing is always getting started. Because there's guilt involved, there's shame involved, but I mean, even before like I actively started going to rehab, I had tried like, sort of showing up to like some AA meetings and whatnot, but I was like, it's kind of a weird space when you're a younger person. Because like most AA meetings are kind of just filled with old white guys, and you're just like, I don't feel like there's anybody I can too strongly connect to here, and most of you sound like you've had way more dark stories than I've had. But no, I mean, it took me a little while to sort of get used to being in those spaces and opening up about certain things in those spaces, but I definitely I started taking them more seriously when I actually went in and self-admitted myself to a rehabilitation center, which I mean I had like it's one of those things that a lot of people assume like, oh, rehab's gonna be scary, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I actually had like a lot of fun in my time.
That the point of rehab is to try and get you away from whatever vice that got you in there in the first place, and it's kind of hard to do that when you're bored as fuck. Would you not agree?
Hang on. Because I knew this would work better. I actually hear you clearer if I just listen to the if I just listen to the stream. So hang on, I'm gonna deafen myself on Discord because Discord is a stinky.
If you deafen yourself, we
Shouldn't
can't
be-
hear your voice.
Yeah, why wouldn't it let
Definitely
me?
also mute you by default.
Nah, it should just let me. Or what I can do, I can go into my mixing settings and I can mute Discord. And that'll keep me from hearing any sort of echo from any sort of secondary. Hang on, technical difficulties. Da 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 da.
I really need to get one of those technical difficulty screens.
The only awkward part about this is that now I have to listen to myself as well.
So
I wouldn't
think-
try doing that. I couldn't
I think
stand
what-
listening to myself. It's way too distracting. But anyways,
I think what Grim said was that it's hard for you to get out of whatever vice you're in there for if you're bored out of your brains.
yeah, because that sounds about right for.
Oh,
rehab,
yeah.
Right.
I-
It's full of distractions. Like much more healthy distractions.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those things. I mean, I joke about, but it's also like something that I'm entirely serious about. Where I'm like, first and foremost, I am a distraction addict. Like,
Most people are these days.
I mean, I'm accident prone, unfortunately.
like you need something.
Like, a few months ago, I was just walking down the street, and
But,
I nearly got taken out by 2 cars.
So, at what point during rehab did it finally start
That's-
to like sink in? At what point did you realize it was working?
I mean, it was sort of. It takes like sort of a while to because there's always going to be like periods and steps where you're like okay, but this part of what you're saying is bullshit, but this part of what you're saying like hits home with me. And you know, there's always going to be sort of like
So
the
like
peaks
an
and valleys
epiphany,
of that
like
kind
a
of stuff,
realization?
where um I I picked out like what works for me and what I could see, like, you know, like holding on to for a long time.
Hmm.
Hang on.
I'm just.
I
Yeah, it looks like I'm not going to be able to see all of the of what
hang
is
on. I
said.
thought I was being clever, but this is also tricky. Like
So-
hearing myself and also trying to.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's very distracting. But going back to what you were saying, so there was no real point at all where things really start to take hold. It was just sort of like a gradual blur.
I, I, I don't think he had.
Hang on, it might be better if I just grab a PNG to hand you all. Hang on. Because for whatever reason, Discord just says no. Don't.
I can.
We
Okay,
do not want to play nice specifically with VTube Studio.
What I
Because
can
it
do
plays
is.
nice with everything else. Like,
There we go. I'll just turn that off and Fugi group.
hang on.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything because it automatically picked up your PNG already. Ta-da!
Oh, you have a PNG of me pre-prepared. Oh my god.
It's so
Oh my
cute.
lord, you actually have that one. That's one of my favorite ones. Hang on. Let me go ahead and close VTube Studio to tell it to go fuck off.
Alright, so
Oh,
I'll close that.
I should have tested that. That was one other thing that I should have thought of. Because the way I don't have my cam like directly plugged in for using the face tracking. VTube Studio has an option for like just syncing the Wi-Fi, and maybe that's what it doesn't like. But yeah, I think now I can hear much clearer.
Yeah, I think we'll just go PNG mode for you as well, Demi, since VTube does not want to be nice with Discord.
It really doesn't. Like I said, it's very.
So our guest today, like our chat is asking how are we doing. Well, I'm doing all right.
Doing good. I mean, work was a nightmare, but I knew it was going to be a nightmare today going in, but at the same time, I have the entire weekend off, so I get to look forward to that.
So, did you hear what I was asking before?
I believe the last question I heard was like, as far as like, was there like a moment where it clicked?
Yeah, where like you realized that rehab is working.
So, I think like just the step itself of deciding to go for me, like I had already had myself like in the mindset of like, okay, this has clearly gone to a point where like I need to just sort of give myself over to like, because my way is not working. My way of trying to handle this is not working. I need to try somebody else's way.
And I'm assuming you had like challenging days and relapses, right?
Not since I got clean, no. I've had like challenging days for sure, like, but I've ever since I got out, I haven't had a single drink since. And yeah, I've just
How long have you been sober for?
since 6 16, 2021. I want to say, yeah.
Nice.
Well, we're all happy for you. And do you have any other advice for anyone seeking help or is currently recovering?
I think the biggest thing is just sort of reminding people like they're not alone in it at all. Like there's like everybody typically going in has this sort of idea in their head that like, oh well, people wouldn't understand where I'm coming from. Like, and I mean, nobody's gonna have the exact same story, but you're gonna see like, and you're gonna hear a lot of like the same themes and see a lot of the same, like, I guess you would call like story beats. If you listen to their whole stories to like similar stuff to other people that you know, or even yourself.
What would you say is the most tropey thing of someone in rehab?
Oh, I mean, like, all sorts of people who, you know, come from, you know, backgrounds where, like, broken homes, you know, or jobs of, like, high stress. Like, the place that I went, I am not a first responder, but their specialty is in dealing with first responders. So most of the people I was there with were police officers, firefighters, you know, military, paramedics, and I played Uno with those guys like every night, and these fucking cops cheated more than anybody I've ever played Uno with on a nightly basis. And I still beat their ass in Uno.
Don't mind me, I'm just...
So, your motif as a VTuber, would you like to describe that?
Motif. Hang on, that's a word.
Or shtick, or just like...
What inspired you to...
branding?
Oh, so I am a half angel and half demon VTuber. If my model was playing nicely with Discord, I would show it. I actually have the 3 forms. Part of that is due to I am a indecisive person by nature. I like many things, and if I had an unlimited budget, my model would have even more than 32 toggles that it already has.
32! Holy
Yeah.
fuck!
I have a 32 button stream deck just because it's the only way that I can handle it all.
And
But
why'd you go with Nephilim as your identity, your persona?
So it sort of had to do with it was a little bit of the column of I was sort of back and forth between like angel and demon, like because I'll just say it flat out, there are too many male demon VTubers. There's too many of us.
There's too many demon VTubers in general.
Yeah, it's like
like I would say the 2 most common VTubers are cat and demon.
yes, like it's like there's too much. I need to at least put my own little spin on it, and that was the other reason behind, or part of one of the reasons behind being more of an exotic dancer design. Other than, of course, you know, being a fabulous stripper myself.
Oh!
Are you actually?
I have worked as a stripper. I have had a period of my life. Listen, these tuition bills don't pay themselves, but we.
Oh, I know.
That means you weren't proud of it.
I wouldn't say I'm not proud of it at all. It's just one of those things where, you know, a lot of people like immediately assume like if you've been in that kind of industry, they assume like that is your whole life. Like that is your personality is just stripper or porn star or something along those lines. And it's like that's no
Hard stereotype to shake off, but
yeah, as a
it's like I went to school to be a psychologist. Like it's like I have a lot more that I know. It's just this is a good way to make money.
No. So wait. You literally were you were literally doing
yes, stripping my way through becoming a doctor. Like
you literally. But like,
Well-
to be fair, not a lot of people are brave enough to do these kinds of things. So it's understandable to an extent why someone would think if you do this, you have to be really committed. You have to be really sure this is what you want.
Oh yeah, I mean
I
it's
mean-
it's one of those things like I just love psychology in general.
So do I.
It's one of those things
In
that
fact, Felicity really made me appreciate my love of psychology because she's an absolute mental case.
well that's the funnest thing about psychology is if you know enough people, you can apply everything you learn to somebody in your life. Like
Where do you think like your interest in psychology came from originally?
I think a big part of it was just because I was very quickly, even on like the more fundamental classes, able to understand, oh, this is something that, like, oh, this, I see this in this person that I know, or I recognize this sort of behavioral pattern in this family member I know. And, you know,
I think I
also there's always the classic of like, physician heal thyself. Like, maybe if I know everything about psychology, I can be my own therapist and then I don't have to talk to people about my problems. Like, and it's like, no, you actually need an outside perspective because your brain will lie to you. Like,
I think the moment I became fascinated with psychology was also the moment I started to grow up, and that was after learning about Chris Chan.
what a introduction. Immediately, like, how does a human being like Chris Chan exist? Yeah.
I know, it's like, I'm just
like,
like,
the
what the hell
fascination
led to
going
that?
in.
Like, what the hell led to that?
I feel the downfall of that individual was began when his father died.
It is.
think
There's
it
a
was-
lot of
I think it
things.
was- I think it was the moment he was born to two incredibly negligent parents.
Yeah, it's been a train wreck of a life that
Like,
guy's honestly had.
there are stages to how you feel about Chris Chan. First, you start with disgust, then hatred, then pity, then hatred again, then pity again, then hatred again, then pity again, and then eventually you just stop caring.
It does reach a point where you're like, yeah, the deck was stacked against you, but like you can't just perpetuate being awful. Like it's it's like there comes a point.
Yeah,
Where
but
it's like-
ultimately, I think the people to blame for Chris Chan are his parents, especially his mom. Like, but you have a point. Like, after his dad died, things really started to go downhill. It's like his dad was the only one giving him structure, even if it wasn't perfect.
Yep.
I'm sure you've also encountered a number of like internet. I wouldn't call them e-celebs, but I guess they're
Lolcows.
lolcows. Yeah. I'm sure you've encountered more than just Chris Chan, though, right?
Oh, I mean, there's all sorts of people on the internet who, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of them that you see blow up, particularly the ones that get popular amongst kids, tend to be like the biggest narcissists you see.
Alright,
Somehow,
alright, I'll
I thought you
drink
were going
something.
completely different. I thought you were
No,
going completely
no,
different
like I
direction
mean,
with
like
that.
if you think of like the Jake Pauls and you know like
Oh, God,
those
the fucking
spaces,
Paul
like
brothers.
it's always like the biggest narcissist, and it's always just like you have an army of children behind you. Like,
And if they're not narcissists, they're Minecraft YouTubers.
yeah,
Oh dear.
In other words, they're pedos.
it's like,
There has to be a
ugh.
connection there. It's like, how many Minecraft YouTubers got caught in scandals with kids? Is he there?
Hello?
Yeah, I don't know too much about too many Minecraft YouTubers. Oh, did I disconnect? Oh no.
Yeah, I was
We
wondering if
just-
you're getting distracted by something.
I'm constantly distracted. My chat describes me as a golden retriever.
Speaking of,
They're like,
how
listen, he's a good boy, but he's dumber than rocks. Like easily distracted. Like,
speaking of, what is like what do you usually stream?
so recently, I've been going through like so when Elden Ring came out, I played that from start to finish naked on my first playthrough without looking up any sort of guide or walkthrough.
Naked in the game or naked IRL?
Yes.
The appropriate response.
Then and I love to throw in like little challenges because I've been playing like Souls-like games for years. And I love them dearly. I'm very comfortable and familiar with the combat and the mechanics in those games. But so anytime that I die, I actually do 5 squats. Because another thing that I'm quite known for is, listen, a lot of people assume, with a name like Dr. D and being a stripper, they assume it's all about the package in the front, but it's like, nah. People don't hire male strippers because they got a package. They hire them for the dump truck, for the bouquet, for the thunderous cheeks.
Can you verify?
The thing I don't have.
Bullshit. Oh my god, we've been over this so many times. She has, I think, what you would refer to as cognitive dissonance.
Ah. Yeah.
God.
But yeah, so I'll do like 5 squats in between each death for each run back, and so we sort of started off that trend with Elden Ring, then we went to the original Dark Souls, hopped over to Bloodborne.
Thank you, Osamu-san. Thank you very much for the raid. Arigatou gozaimashita. Goshoshin-sama. Let's give you a shout out. So.
So, what would you say is your favorite game? Not just Souls-like, but like of all time. And it can be a list if you want.
That's so tough for me. Because I'm terrible at like favorites. Like if people ask me like what's your favorite song or your favorite color, I'm like like God, what am I in the mood for right now? But I would say like I would say probably like favorite games in general would be, and they're all for like sort of similar but also different reasons. Like I adore Hollow Knight. I adore Breath of the Wild's a good one, but not my favorite Zelda game. Tears of the Kingdom is
I kind of got
quickly
burnt out on it. If I'm gonna be completely honest.
But before you finished it, you got burnt out on it, or?
Yeah, like I was getting very close to the end. I wanted to finish the arena, I couldn't do it, and that was the last time I played. And I just haven't had like the will to play it since.
I like games like that that really reward mastery of its like fundamental mechanics.
Oh, then you are going to love Ultra Kill.
Ultra Kill.
Let me explain to you the game that I love so much that I allowed it to ruin my left hand. I'm still dealing with the consequences weeks later. And I'm a little scared, but don't let that deter you, because this is an amazing game.
I told him it was Carpal Tunnel, but he didn't listen.
I didn't say I didn't listen.
Oh, it's a pew-pew game.
It's very much like a boomer shooter, but... And it's not finished yet. Looking forward to Act 3.
Okay.
But for what it's worth, I have never seen a game that, like, forces you to be a badass. And what I mean by that is, a game like Dark Souls, you know, you sit at a bonfire, you can spend points on stats and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's not something you've like achieved. That's something you've bought. That's power you've bought.
Right.
At the end of the day, you just became harder to kill, but that doesn't necessarily translate to direct self-improvement. Ultra Kill is a game where no weapon is better than any other weapon. There are no weapon upgrades, there are no health upgrades. Any power-ups you do get are few and far between, and they are temporary only. Very temporary. So, but throughout all of it, the difficulty does scale. So, you basically have to, in order to actually achieve victory in the game, you have to train yourself. You have to understand the different techniques you can use in different situations. You have to understand the best way to dispatch enemies and in which order. And you have to learn all these like different muscle memory tricks. Probably one of the best examples I can think of is the starting weapon, which is a revolver. And when you right-click on it, you toss a coin in the air. And you have to shoot that coin, and when you do, it automatically seeks the nearest target and hits them in the head.
Okay, sort of like a. Well, I'd be curious what the range is on it, because it's like you're sort of eliminating the need for aiming for whatever movement the the target has, but you have the predict, but that you essentially you have much more predictable movement on the target being the coin versus the target being whatever's moving around you're trying to get a headshot on.
So here's the thing though. First and foremost, you only have 4 of them, and they recharge slowly one after another. And while you can shoot them, and doing so does give you more damage. Like, it gives you +1 damage. If you shoot it at the right point, like during the right window of frames, you can actually split the bullet in 2 and hit 2 targets. On top of that, you can also punch your own coin, which launches it into the nearest enemy, but doesn't destroy the coin, so it flies above their head. So you can take a shot again, and it's guaranteed to split the bullet, so you can kill 3 targets with 1 coin. But it requires, like, a sequence of events to do.
Right.
And you can also stack coins, so you can throw all 4 of them in the air, and then shoot them, and they all ricochet off each other, create even more damage. And you don't even have to use the revolver for it either, because proper, or like a popular tactic is using something called the rail cannon to do something called rail coining, which is where you toss a coin up in the air and one right behind the enemy, then you shoot through the enemy with this big rail gun, hits the second coin, goes through the enemy's head, hits the first coin, then goes through them a 3rd time. And that can destroy some of the tankiest enemies like instantly. And I'm just scratching the surface of the game's mechanics. You can like punch your own shotgun shells to make them go faster, and shoot grenades that you throw. And they all deal more damage, and it's all more effective. But yeah, highly recommend that game if you like something that tests your skill, because that game is pure skill.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest on shooters in general. It's honestly like one of my biggest weaknesses, and one of the things where I see so many VTubers are like, "Hey, you wanna collab Apex or Valorant?" And I'm just like, I'm kind of dog water at those games.
I can't play those sorts of games for my health.
Yeah, I figured that out the hard way.
It's one of those things.
He invited me to Splitgate, and while the Aussie rage was all fine and dandy, the resulting fact that I had to go lie down for a few hours was not.
Yeah, no. Definitely don't play games that put your health at risk.
Yep.
I mean, if I laugh too much, if I laugh too much, I fracture a rib.
Oh my god.
He's very
So-
fair now.
Yeah,
but-
luckily
yeah.
I've had broken ribs a couple of times. It's one of those bones where like after it's broken the first time, because it's not typically the rib itself that breaks, it's the cartilage around it that sort of gives way. And like yeah, after the first time it's been broken, it makes it much easier to happen again by accident.
Yeah, mine is basically like it's always the rib under my my left tit that always fractures. So I'm just like, ow!
So, in terms of... So, you became a VTuber. Would you like to explain why?
So I have a secret. People really seem to like my voice.
I mean, you have a very whiskey silver voice.
As I told him earlier, I am trying so damn hard not to simp for this voice. Oi!
So I would often hear people telling me like, "Oh, you have like a great voice for like radio," and I'd be like, "Yeah, well, radio's kind of dead, so."
I'm not gonna make the obvious joke, but
I've got a face. I've got a face for radio.
But I honestly, VTubing in particularly, as opposed to being one of those flesh tubers.
yeah, instead of being a fleshy.
I chose the VTuber route because I think it lets me be more expressive than I could like naturally, and it helps me.
Behind every model, I think there is a certain degree of like someone's like personality.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things
I wonder
where
what
like
it says about me, considering I have no skin and my power is half of a horse.
well, it's one of those things where like whenever I see people like spend like thousands of dollars on like adoptable designs, I'm like, really, you didn't have like any part of you that you wanted to flesh out, like, because it's one of the things that like I see too often in sort of the space where people go, and it's the same thing that I really critique people hard on who just go like straight for AI art, where I'm just like, I don't think you understand that before you're a VTuber, like you're a streamer and a content creator. Like being a VTuber is like the essentially, I don't want to use the word genre to describe it, but it's like the creative expression end of it. It is a form to express your content.
Hmm.
And
I mean,
so many
yeah.
people go like, if I just get pretty model, then that is how I become successful streamer, right? As no,
Oh.
that's not how that works.
I've met a fair
That's
few
always
people
part
that
of the
have.
reason why I chose mine.
A lot of people have come to me for advice, and a lot of the time it's like, why am I not getting views? Why am I not getting an audience? I'm like, the model is just the face. What you put behind
Yes.
it is what keeps people in.
It's having a very nice storefront, but if what you're serving is like, you know,
Dog
shit
shit.
tacos every Tuesday, yeah, like people aren't gonna stick around. Whereas, you know, it's just like those food stalls in New York that like you'll see on the corner and it looks like this dirty little grubby food stall that like you wouldn't want to stop in for risk of, you know, getting food. Yeah, but there's a fucking line 2 blocks long to get into that food stall, and they're making more than the restaurant down the road because their food is that good, and it just goes by word of mouth.
Mm. And how would you say? Well, do you have any lore?
I do. I do have some lore. So one of the reasons, aside from, of course, my thunderous cheeks of my ass, my badonkadonk that when it claps it sounds like thunder, that I have, you know, sort of the lightning motif going on. Other than, I mean, lightning's always a sick design. It just is. It is what it is. So one of the reasons I incorporated it in though is so a lot of people, and even even today, a lot of people still assume that lightning just comes from the sky, or aka the heavens. You know, you'll hear people joke about like, oh, Zeus or God is bowling up there, you know, stuff like that. But lightning is actually generated from, or the energy for lightning is actually generated both in the clouds and from the earth. And it typically meets like in between. And
It
so,
was created by extreme expansion of gas due to plasma.
so that's a piece of it. But there's also like an incredible amount of energy, you know, coming from the earth. You know, with the shifting plates, with the magma core, you know, there's a ton of energy going on down there.
I'm
And-
assuming this has something to do with your ass.
It does. Because when the angels and demons are, you know, trying to have their war, getting ready for Armageddon, you know, throwing their lightning back and forth, you know, when you hear the thunder, that's simply me dodging and dancing around the lightning gracefully. And my ass clapping in the rain.
Also, on completely unrelated tangent, Ultra Kill does take place in Hell, and it takes place after the Rapture.
Okay.
Yes, and you get to kill biblically accurate angels too.
Yeah, I was looking at it. The art style is very nice.
As for me, I try to keep my lore simple, which is just I'm a Knuckle of V. My grandparents, or my great-grandparents rather, moved because a German battle cruiser landed on their house down at the bottom of the North Sea. And so they decided to move. And I'm just a big degenerate NEET. Just happens to have no skin.
The fact is, though, is that I know Knuckle of V from the Irish folk legends. Causing pestilence and dismay wherever they go, they they hunt down the ill of faith in order to devour their souls, and cannot cross a body of fresh water.
Lies.
Being
This
part Irish,
sounds like slander. Sounds like some slander going on here.
All we do is cause famine. That's it.
yeah, you
That's
caused
it. Just a little famine.
You caused the
Never-
Great Potato
no.
Famine. Oh, hello,
Sorry.
Alfred.
Didn't mean to. But anyways. So, obviously, being a VTuber means you have to have some kind of connection with anime itself.
Oh, of course.
So, would you say you are big into anime? What is your favorite anime? What anime do you absolutely hate?
I don't know if there's like an anime I would say that I absolutely hate. But if I tell you my two favorite anime, it'll probably give you like a ballpark of how old I am. Because one is a classic that I think even younger people, like, they're at least aware of, and the other one, like, there is a very specific cutoff where like people would be like, what? Like,
Alright, lay it on us.
and I love both of them for very similar reasons, because they both do a great job of having this cast of characters, and they're in two completely different genres as far as my favorites. And I rewatch them both all the time. It's why I'm never caught up on newer anime, because I just rewatch my old favorites all the time. But the two would be Ouran High School Host Club
Oh my god.
and Yu Yu Hakusho.
Okay, Ouran High
Would be
School Host
my-
Club was one of
my
my favorite
two
animes
favorites.
as a kid. Oh my god.
Like, it's such a good anime.
Sadly, I don't know too much anime that's that old, at least not by their original title. Like, I've seen a few episodes of Robotech. That's probably the oldest I've ever gone.
That's gonna change because I'm gonna have him watch Fruits Basket at some point. That's my favorite anime.
Fine, but as part of the deal, you're gonna have to watch JoJo.
So back in the day, Cartoon Network had a place called Toonami,
Oh my god.
where later at night they would play different anime like Inuyasha.
Oh, that was Adult. That was
Yu
Adult
Yu
Swim.
Hakusho.
That was Adult Swim here in Australia. They only played
they-
anime on Adult Swim.
We only had
Ah.
2 channels in Canada for cartoons, and that was YTV and Teletoon. And if anyone ever brings that up, like those 2 channels, you know they're Canadian. Like it's a dead giveaway.
There's also an anime called and it's just an absurd like gag action anime. It's called Bo.
Oh my god, that anime! Nose hair foo!
It's about a man with magnificent hair who fights people with his nose hairs and his boogers.
He is
That
just
sounds incredibly amazing.
He's an absolute Chad.
He's just absolutely fucking hilarious. And then there's Mr. Sadman. Mr. fucking
This is-
Sadman.
These all sound like those like really shitty like DC superheroes like Dog Welder.
Calendar
It's-
Man.
Mm.
It's an actual, like, full-on anime, which unfortunately got cancelled. So it,
I couldn't imagine why.
Oh, one of my other favorite animes, however, was Cyborg 009. The fucking creator passed away before the final chapter of the manga could be completed, so it ended at a very big cliffhanger.
Oh, those are the worst.
Man, I was about Berserk fans pour one out. Like
Mm.
feeling that it's like we already waited forever to even hope to get a
Berserk is
decent anime
definitely something
adaptation.
I think it's way too old for me. And what I mean by that is, I have a thing where I can never finish a shonen anime because they never stop. And I have to like hack away so many different irrelevant filler chapters. And so many
Oh my
battles
God.
that take multiple episodes and flashbacks that take 15 minutes.
They finally are making the final arc to One Piece.
See, you say that now, but you
Like-
say that now, like, but what does Oda mean by final arc? Is that
Final filler
five seasons for a final arc? Yeah, let's.
Yeah, and that's actually probably one of the reasons why I appreciate JoJo is because it has very clear cutoff points. Well, it may go on forever, like... It's like, okay, this time we're following this JoJo, not this one. So you get a good understanding of who to follow.
Yeah, I still need to watch JoJo's. It's been on my list. It's one of those things where like all of my knowledge of JoJo's comes
The
from
memes.
exactly. It just comes from the
I
memes.
just saw the
and-
memes so often, I'm like, what the fuck is this anime? And then I decided to watch it. And, by the way, the thing about JoJo, as I understand it, is it was Araki's first ever attempt at writing. And the reason why this is important is because part 1 is fucking shit.
I've also very much so heard this, where like part 1 is like you watch it because you need to watch it, but like just know you're just treat it like you're doing a little homework. Like you just got to get through this part.
Yeah. Like, and they cut out a lot of content from the manga.
It's manga.
Yeah. Then why is there no O in the name?
I was about to say, do you eat mangos
Exactly.
or do you eat mangoes?
Exactly. Thank you. Finally, someone validates me. But part 1, it sucks, and it also has lots of like inspiration from Fist of the North Star. I mean, the main character like wears the fucking he like cosplays as Kenshiro.
Yeah, I the other reason I really know a good amount of JoJo's characters is because I'm also a bit of a I may have given up the alcohol, but I am absolutely a commission addict.
Mm.
I'm always saving stuff for references for outfits and poses and ideas,
It's
expressions.
all the style. The JoJo style.
Well, the JoJo's poses though. Like there's so many
Ooh,
like
yes.
iconic poses from JoJo's where I'm like,
Yeah, so
let me put that
It's
in a
actually-
folder.
it's actually interesting to see the evolution of it, because like after part 3, you can see Araki goes away from like big beefcake Gears of War main characters to something a bit more normal in body proportion, and then by part 5, everyone is incredibly androgynous.
Listen, we love our androgynous characters.
I know, but like JoJo is so gay, and it's like, but it's gay in such a fantastic, flaming way.
It's the best kind of gay.
I'm sure you know what the Pillar Men are, if you know a certain amount.
I
of it.
I have this one commission. It used to be my my banner on Twitter, where like one of the comments was like immediately like, I can hear the Pillarman music in the background of this, and it was just
And
like,
that by the way comes in at part 2, and that's where it actually starts to deserve the title of Bizarre Adventure, because it involves the Aztec gods of homoerotic fitness and cyborg Nazis who are somehow the good guys. I'm not joking. Like, the Nazis aren't the protagonists, but they help the protagonists on multiple occasions.
yeah, the enemy of my enemy. Who knows?
It's so weird.
Well, it's also like that if you consider, because like, yeah, back in Japan has a weird relationship with Nazi Germany. Like historically, they were kind of on the same team.
Except not really, because even after Third Reich rose, they did things to sort of cockblock Japan, like giving weapons to China and training them on them, and
Yeah, and there was just like a, I think it was, I was listening to something about Overlord and why I forget the character's name. He's the doppelganger that Momonga designed, and why he's like dressed like a Nazi. And like they sort of go into like explaining how, oh well, he was actually like, when he was, you know, in the real world, he was obsessed with like Nazis and like their style and culture for a little while, and that's why he designed this like doppelganger
oh
to
god,
like,
that's a crazy teenage phase.
yeah, it's one of those.
Unfortunately, I've seen people who never outgrew it.
People who are like, what? The Nazis did nothing wrong. It's like, whoa.
Wereaboos.
Oh, trust me, I'm from America and I grew up in the South. I have people online for, well, I rarely check on Facebook anymore, but occasionally I'll look, and there'll always be the one person who's like, yeah, the Confederates did nothing wrong, and I'm like, that's enough for today. That's
Hurrah, hurrah, we bring the Jubilee. Hurrah, hurrah, the flag that sets you free. So we sang this chorus from Atlanta to the sea while we were marching through Georgia. Confederates hate that song. Sorry, just me being a Sherman fanboy.
Hmm. Ugh.
But anyways, to quickly wrap up what I was saying about JoJo is, if you don't like it by part 3, you're probably not going to like the rest, because part 3 is definitely quintessential JoJo.
I just watched
it's
3
like sets
episodes
the
and went,
tone
no.
for what.
Yeah, like, yeah, parts 1 and 2 were experimental. Part 3 is the formula that works, and everything after that is basically remixing the formula.
Alright.
So,
I have a question for Felicity.
oh,
Oh, go on.
I have a curiosity, a quandary,
Okay.
and that is, how in the hell did you find me? How was I found?
All I did was just see who would make a good guest here at the estate, and you popped up on my timeline on Twitter, so I gave you a hey, hi, hello.
What was
Here we
what was
are.
the post? What was? I'm curious. What was the post that made you go?
It's because she saw your abs and immediately got wet.
Oh, shut up, Grim.
Was it the front or was it the back? Was it?
I can't even remember what post it was.
Oh, trust me, she may be hiding right now, but she's absolutely swooning right now. Flirt with her right now. Go ahead, test my theory.
Hey.
I don't think flirting, like putting him on the spot like that, is going to really work.
But it's always one of those things where it's like you tell
Yeah,
a stand-up
I think you're trying to
comedian.
make use.
Uh-huh.
Come on, trust me. Be a little more bold. If she's silent, it means it's working.
Of course.
It's the best flirting is always organic. It's always, sort of a back and forth.
Yep, definitely.
Little give and take, a little push and pull.
Oh, I'll pull something
Just like
later.
the best sex. You're
yes,
gonna need both hands.
Oh! Are we saying we're that big, are we? I'm more of a girth than length, to be completely fair.
Hey, I appreciate both. I mean, I play for all teams. I'm a simple guy,
Further confirmed, I've yet to see anyone younger than me, although I'm pretty sure you're not, who is not completely straight.
Well, I mean, Kython is.
Yeah, well, that's one exception, and so far, it's stacked against everyone else I know.
Listen, I was actually joking about this the other day, where I'm like, now, I'm not saying all gay people are VTubers, but there is a significant amount of VTubers who are also gay.
Or trans.
Well, the thing is
like
that
there's
And
with
autistic. The amount of autistic VTubers.
yeah.
And I'm just like, I love it. Like, I'm like, I've met more pan people through VTubing than I would meet on Grindr. Like,
I'm a demi, so I have to be very close with you before I feel anything that way. But at the same time, I'm also poly.
In regards to, like, because you are a doctor of psychology, I should say, my bad. I'm curious about what you think things will be like in the future for, like, the next generation, because I've been thinking about this a lot recently, especially after I became an Uncle of E, and I'm currently going to have a second niece or nephew on the way. So, I'm just wondering, what do you think about the way things are going for the children of today?
well, to clarify, I am not currently a licensed psychologist. I took a break during COVID, because the colleges were clearly not prepared to switch everything online, and I was not paying tuition for what they were not prepared to teach.
Fair enough.
But, I would say the biggest thing that I think a lot of people sort of get hung up on, and they sort of point to like, oh, these kids these days are just always on their phones. They don't know how to interact and this, that, and the other. And it's like, I don't think people realize that this is just because of technology constantly advancing. This is how people are evolving to interact with each other.
I have to fully agree, and I bring this story up every time I talk to someone about this. I like to find the video, but there was a video I saw. Picture, if you will, a kid who in one hand is holding a tablet, and beside him is a phone. He's playing a Minecraft Pocket Edition on this tablet, with the same finger he's using to move forward, backward, left, and right. He is every other second swiping through TikToks, and it's like he's doing this seamlessly. And this is a kid who's like 5 years old at least.
Yeah, it's one of those things where there's gonna be, you know, gains and losses along with it. Like the biggest example I can think of is the boomer generation. It was much more important to be able to recall and store knowledge, like, as a function, because of the technology they had at the time with getting into the workplace and, you know, just adulting. Whereas nowadays, because of the technology that we have, the skill that is much more valuable than being able to know and store all this knowledge is the ability to, you know, look for it. Like, know how to use a search engine, know how to use the tools that we have to quickly gain this information.
And know how to deal with overstimulation.
Yeah, and my biggest concern, and again, it's one of those things where I don't even know with how and where things are going technology-wise, if this should even be a concern, is because you're especially seeing it with, you know, technology jumping so far forward so quickly. I think we'll have a generation who, at least software-wise, you know, every generation, you know, is more tech savvy than the last, but I think right now, because we're seeing such like an exponential jump in software, you're also going to see like an exponential jump in, you know, their use of that software compared to older generations.
I have to agree, and
but
on
the downside, my concern is I don't know that they'll know how to run it. If that makes it, like, there, of course, there'll be like a small percentage that will. I mean, that's how it always goes. You know, you have a handful of engineers and programmers, and everybody else, you know, sort of learns how to use it and incorporate it into their lives. But I do think it's going to grow a bit smaller, just because when so much information is so readily available, and the attitude really just does sort of become like, well, why do I need to learn this if it's so easily accessible through this tool?
Perhaps, although you could argue that works the other way around, that because the technology is so easily accessible, they will learn through osmosis. Like, let me put it this way. I taught myself nuclear chemistry because I want to know how radiation worked for a role-playing game.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I just did that on my own.
You had to justify to your DM how you could build a nuclear bomb, did you?
I was the DM. But, yeah, so I want to know, how would you, like, accurately incorporate radiation damage, and after, like, a day or two, it's like, okay, now I understand the basics of nuclear chemistry. Cool. So I feel like it could work both ways. But going back to something you said earlier, talking about how the younger generation they can't communicate, I think that's true. I think they're just creating their own new language. And
well, no, that's, yeah.
Language as well. Like,
if you look at how much, like, people who were born 100 years ago used technology to communicate versus people who were born even 50 years ago used technology to communicate versus people who were born, 20 years, and then it's incrementally, if you go from that 50 years ago to, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, like exponentially you'll see a spike in how much people use technology to communicate, like in their day-to-day lives.
Exactly. Like, the more I think about it, the more I realize that, like, when you're talking to someone on Discord, reaction images or like tagging someone's post with an emote, that's sort of the equivalent of like subtle body language.
Yeah, it's the joke of like someday we will no longer have a need for languages and the universal language will just be a compilation of universal GIFs. Like
I've thought of that before for like a science fiction setting wherein an entire tribe of people who only communicate through like a very deep and esoteric series of reaction images. But like obviously you know that someone's trying to like gesture something when they nerd emoji you.
they hit you with the glasses up.
Exactly. Like, that in and of itself, and it does carry certain kinds of social ramifications. It can feel like a form of social rejection, like you're not being taken seriously. So I would not say that the generation doesn't know how to, like, communicate. They just don't know how to communicate with their elders.
Yes, because they had a very different, like I said, they communicate in two different platforms.
Yep, and likewise, like, also, this is something else I've been wondering, because, again, it seems like there's less and less teenagers that identify as completely straight. I wonder if in the future, like, young teens are going to be bullied for their sexual orientation of being straight.
God damn it, Alfred.
I would say, I mean, odds are probably.
I mean, yeah,
it's
like,
one of those things.
If it's something that sets you apart from a group, they will use
Yes,
it.
that's exactly the thing. Like kids are awful. I mean, there's no getting around it. Like they will find a reason to put themselves, and I mean this is just humans in general, but kids, because they have much less filter, they will find any sort of reason to put themselves above somebody else.
Yes, there's something else horrifying when considering this. And that is
Sorry, Alfred just bit my leg. If
you got a little love bite.
I have two cats and one of them is very friendly.
But yeah, so what I was saying was something I learned recently is somewhere in like Canada, I think it was in BC, they discovered like a teacher's OnlyFans. And it became sort of a big case of, can we fire this woman? Because would that be like unconstitutional, like against someone's freedom of expression? And that got me to realize something. One, there's going to be a lot of teachers that are going to have OnlyFans because teaching doesn't pay well. If there's a universal constant is that. And secondly, these are going to be discovered by kids. And I wonder if parental locks will even work. Like, how young will children be exposed to sex? And will it create a completely normalized society?
Here's the problem you will always see is the parents who are trying to police the kids' use of technology are not as adept as the kids at it. Like, there comes a tipping point, usually around adolescence.
Yeah, around the time that I was told about internet history, I started to realize, oh wait, I can erase this. Oh.
Like, yes, like, and I know I did it where, like, at a certain point, like, I surpassed my parents' knowledge of, technology, and I was like, oh, I know how to download all these things.
That goes back to the question you had, or like what you were saying about how kids probably won't be as tech savvy. because they won't have the ability to retain that information. At the same time, if these kids can learn to like bypass parental locks, I think that makes them pretty tech savvy. Like that would require
I would
straight up
say
information security skills. That's
yeah, I would say it sort of depends on the UI almost. Because it's one of those things, right, where if you hand a smartphone to anybody who's I'd say probably at this point like 40 and under at this point, like they're probably going to pretty quickly and intuitively be able to figure out whether you're used to iPhones or Samsung, like how to navigate it. Like you're going to be able to figure that out. Whereas if you hand an iPhone or an iPad or to somebody who's in their 60s or much older,
Okay, ciao.
then all of a sudden, they do not have the familiarity with how to get through this UI. As far as like the interface is not as intuitive for them because they haven't essentially done like the baby steps of technology around it, or it's not where they started. It's such a grand leap for them compared to having if they did bother to get into the internet when it was first coming out for them, like, and seeing like, oh, let me plug in the router. Make sure don't take any phone calls so that we can stay on the internet and I can download. Yeah, it's like make sure don't take any phone calls. It's gonna take me at least the computer says 5 years to download this pair of tits. We'll get there in a little bit.
Oh god, the best is when old people discover porn.
God, the fact is that I existed before Google.
Listen, I'm in that club.
92.
Yeah. Of course, one very horrifying reality that I think we'll have to face is, like, we are living in a post-truth world where we cannot discern what is reality anymore.
Oh, I mean, it's people have always I think that's become a much more popular talking
Arigato
point.
gozaimashita, Chaotic Corky. Thank you very much for the first time chat. I hope you enjoy your time here.
I mean,
hi. But it's always been power lies where people believe. Power lies is always my sort of counter to that.
I mean, yeah, but have we ever lived in a time where you can like get an almost perfect AI voice of Trump and Biden playing?
Oh yeah, I mean there's stuff like that, but there's also always just been whoever has the power, the money will control the narrative at the end of the day. And it's because we have I'd argue it's almost better now, because if you compare it to like before we had the internet, right? Like where you have access to this, wide array of information.
For becoming a beloved estate guest. I hope you enjoy your stay here at the
like,
Hayami estate.
Prior to having that, where were you getting your information from? You had to get it like directly from TV or radio, and if you go even further behind that, where are you getting your information from? It's either just small talk amongst the town, or it's literally information that's being dictated by whoever the governing body of the area is.
With the chat chow, it's not frozen, it's just that you read the latest thing from the top and the oldest thing from the bottom. It is a little confusing, but I thought I needed to like change things up on my streams now.
By the sounds of it, you've basically accepted your position as a sheep, and I respect that because I also embrace that I am a sheep. I just want to grill.
I wouldn't even call it that. Because I leave myself mostly unplugged. In all honesty, I don't
exactly. You just want to grill.
I live in my own corner. the world,
I just
and
wanna
you
agree.
know, when people wanna, be like, hey, what's your opinion on this? A lot of the time, my answer is just I don't have one,
Yeah, I just want to grill.
because I don't know enough about something to form an opinion on it. Like,
Pretty much, that's become my attitude. It's just, yeah, whatever. I mean, does it affect me? No? Okay, I'll worry about it later.
yeah, it's one of those things. But yeah, as far as like, is information like, are we at a point where you can't believe anything yet? I don't think we're there yet, and I think honestly, it's sort of the kind of snake that I think that's gonna bite its own tail. Where, like, if we do get to that point where it grows to that size, like internationally, like, world leader powers are gonna like immediately come to a consensus of like, oh, we need to stop this right now. Like, because if people can go around impersonating people who are, hold official positions via the power of AI,
Yeah,
then
I think,
it's
honestly, like the crime of like identity theft is probably going to be a lot more severe in the future and be taken a lot more
yes.
seriously.
Oh, I mean, if I call my bank, uh, you'll hear like, this call is being recorded for quality purposes and also to check for the use of AI. So they're already on stuff like that. Like,
But you said you did not have a least favorite anime, correct?
not that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure, like, if somebody were to bring something up that because here's the thing, I also like thoroughly enjoy trashy anime. Like, I call it like my junk food anime.
I mean, everyone
Like,
likes their room anime, and actually, have you ever heard of Charge Man Ken?
no.
So this is actually something I want to watch with Felicity. It's not too hard to get into because the episodes are like 5 minutes long. Let's just say, how bad do you think an anime has to be like banned from Japanese TV?
It depends on what they do. I would assume.
Like, just based off of quality alone.
Oh well, I mean, they're just like, oh, we cannot allow this. This does not exist anymore. Say goodbye.
So, Charge Man Ken was made in the 70s, and as I understand it, it was made on this absolute shoestring budget, so nobody working on the project ever gave two shits. And what you end up getting is the most confusing, convoluted mess of a plotline with the absolute worst animation ever. And you know what's funny? Every now and then you'll notice a frame and there's like someone's hair, like a loose hair on the frame, because this is like traditional animation, not computer generated. So like, these were drawings that someone took a picture of and there's hair on it, and you'll see it every now and then. And in one episode, for like 2 frames, you can even see someone's hand.
Oh, that's always fun.
But like, the actual narrative is impossible to follow because it makes no sense, and they have to cram it all into 5 minutes. So you get some of the most asinine plot lines ever, and it's all done in a span of 5 minutes. And again, the animation is completely atrocious. Like, there are characters who aren't even colored in. And all of this, it was so bad, but eventually it got discovered by the internet, and it has since become Japan's equivalent of The Room, because, like, they just took it and they ran with it. And I think there's even, like, live-action Charge Man Ken shows. That's how popular it's become in Japan. Where they do, like, Charge Man Ken theater.
Well, I'm gonna have to end things here because there seems to be a lot going on with the stream at the moment. Everyone's saying that the whole thing froze, and so they can't see what's going on.
It's probably good because I need to prepare for my own stream. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, I had fun. I haven't done too many collabs yet. I want to do a lot more different collabs in the future.
Well, I'm always open.
Also, totally didn't forget to do that.
Oh, thank you very much, Demetres the Thick Engine, for becoming a beloved estate guest. Thank you, Dr. Demi, for becoming a beloved estate guest. I hope you...
Definitely didn't forget to do that before time. Even though
okay.
I literally watched a VOD of a previous interview.
Oh, that's good, that's good. So yeah, we are going to raid out to one of Grimm's friends, actually, who is streaming at the moment. Hey, Shift. So be sure to give the Hayami raid message whenever, when we go in to say hello. And, arigatou gozaimashita, minna, go shujin-sama, and everyone in between. Thank you all so much for joining. I hope to see you all next time here at the Hayami Estate. Until then, abayo ne!
Alright, gotta get moving.